Hello and welcome to our little tutorial on goal seek. Beneath the data tab in the what if analysis group, there are the tools scenario manager, which was looked at in previous tutorial, and a little tool here called goal seek. Now goal seek is used in this sort of a situation where we have a table that is calculating a result, but we need to know, for instance, let's say how many units we will need to sell in order to break even or get to a value of 0. You'll see presently the way this table is set up, it tells me how many units are sold and the price thereof, gives me my total income. I also have an item in here which gives me my cost per unit and my overhead. And down here I have total expenses. Now what you're going to notice is total expenses includes a calculation where B5 is multiplied by B2. So again, cost per unit interacts with units sold, because of course the more units I sell, the more or the greater the expense is going to be. So these aren't static numbers, they have to work together. And then the overhead is a static cost that doesn't fluctuate depending on how many units I make and sell. Down here, of course, is a calculation that simply subtracts my total expenses from my income. Now, goal seek requires that the goal you are looking for is based on a calculated cell or a result. I can't do a goal seek based on a static amount. It's not going to work. Not going to work for me. So what I want to know in this situation is my break-even point. Let's say, how many units do I have to sell in order just to cover my expenses, just to cover my costs? So I first click on the cell that I want the result of 0 to be in. Then I go off to my what if analysis. I start up the goal seek, and I get this little window here that I have to provide a little information for. So the set cell, once again, is the cell that I want to see the result in, the result of 0. I want the value in that cell to become 0, so I just manually type that in. Then I need to tell it what cell do I want to change. And in my case, since I'm wondering how many units I have to sell to hit 0, it's going to be my number of units sold, and that's sitting in B2. As soon as I go ahead and I click OK, the goal seek comes in and does the calculation. And this line here indicates a 0 value, and it shows me I pretty well have to sell 300 books. I actually have to sell 299.5, so I have to sell like half a book somewhere. I don't know how I'm going to do that. But that is what is required in order for me to have my income and my expenses balance out and give me a 0. So in this instance, I'm not going to OK this. I'm just going to cancel it. And if I cancel it, the values will return to where they were. Now I may say to myself, you know what? Maybe I'm going to choose not to increase my units sold. Maybe I have some sort of specialty book and there's a chance I'm not going to be able to sell that many more units. Maybe I'm thinking of adjusting the price. So I can do the same thing just like I did before. I can come along, use my what if analysis, click goal seek, say that I want to set the profit cell to 0 as my break-even point. I can come in and say I want to do this by changing the cell of the price per unit. And I'll go ahead and click OK. And the moment I click OK, I'll notice that my profit goes to 0. But I will find in that case, I have to just bump up the price just by a wee bit to make this work. So that's kind of good news. I didn't have to become excessive in that respect. And in this instance, again, if I click OK, you'll see it retains the values. So I would have to Control Z to take it back to where it was. just if that is something you've happened to do. Now, goal seek is nifty for short little answers like this. But let's say let's say I want to do something where I have to check variables against maybe a couple different cells within that table. That's where we move into another tool that we'll cover in another tutorial called our data tables.